Superman, the world's most iconic superhero, has captivated audiences for over 8 decades, becoming not just a comic book character, but a symbol of hope, justice, and the American dream. From his humble beginnings in 1938 to his current status as a global cultural phenomenon, Superman's story reflects the evolution of American society and the power of storytelling to inspire generations. To understand how Superman became the legendary figure he is today, we must journey back to Depression-era America and follow the creative vision of 2 young men from Cleveland, Ohio. The creation of Superman began in the early 1930s when teenagers Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, both passionate about science fiction and comic strips, started collaborating on stories. Siegel, the writer, and Shuster, the artist, were inspired by the pulp heroes of their time, including Doc Savage and John Carter of Mars, as well as the strongman acts they saw in circuses and vaudeville shows. Their first attempt at creating Superman appeared in a 1933 fanzine called Science Fiction, where they depicted him as a bald villain with telepathic powers seeking world domination. However, this early version bore little resemblance to the hero we know today. The transformation of Superman from villain to hero came through Siegel's personal experiences and the social climate of the 1930s. After his father's death during a robbery, Siegel began reimagining Superman as a force for good who could protect the innocent and fight injustice. Drawing inspiration from strongmen like circus performer Sigmund Breitbart and the mythological figure of Hercules, Siegel and Shuster developed their hero's incredible strength and invulnerability. The character's dual identity as mild-mannered Clark Kent and the powerful Superman reflected the creator's own feelings of being ordinary young men with extraordinary dreams. For years, Siegel and Shuster struggled to sell their Superman concept to publishers, facing rejection after rejection from newspaper syndicates and comic book companies. The character underwent numerous revisions during this period, with the creators refining his costume powers and origin story. The iconic red cape was inspired by Flash Gordon, while the distinctive S shield on his chest originally stood for Superman, before later being reimagined as the symbol of his Kryptonian heritage. The duo's persistence finally paid off in 1938 when they sold Superman to Detective Comics Inc., later known as DC Comics, for a mere $130. Superman made his debut in Action Comics #1, published in June 1938, featuring the now famous cover of the hero lifting a car above his head. The issue sold for 10 cents and became an instant success, launching what would become known as the Golden Age of comics. The story introduced readers to Superman's basic origin as the last son of a dying planet who was sent to Earth as a baby and raised by kindly farmers Jonathan and Martha Kent in Smallville, Kansas. Upon reaching adulthood, he moved to the bustling city of Metropolis, where he worked as a reporter for the Daily Planet while secretly protecting the world as Superman. The early Superman stories established many of the character's most enduring elements, including his civilian identity as Clark Kent, his job at the Daily Planet alongside fellow reporter and love interest Lois Lane, and his dedication to fighting crime and corruption. Editor Mort Weisinger and later Julia Schwartz helped expand Superman's mythology, introducing supporting characters like photographer Jimmy Olsen, editor Perry White, and the villainous Lex Luthor. The character's powers initially included superhuman strength, speed, and the ability to leap great distances, but flight was added later as animators found it easier to animate for the popular Fleischer Studios cartoons of the 1940s. Superman's popularity exploded during World War II as the character became a symbol of American values and strength. The comics showed Superman fighting Nazi agents and encouraging readers to buy war bonds, while his alter ego, Clark Kent, represented the everyday American doing his part for the war effort. This period saw the introduction of many classic Superman elements, including his weakness to kryptonite, which was first featured in the radio serial before being adopted into the comics. The Superman radio show, which ran from 1940 to 1951, helped establish many aspects of the mythology, including the phrases "faster than a speeding bullet" and "truth, justice, and the American way." The 1950s brought both triumph and tragedy to Superman's story. The character reached new heights of popularity with the Adventures of Superman television series starring George Reeves, which ran from 1952 to 1958, and introduced Superman to a whole new generation of fans. However, this period also saw the implementation of the Comics Code Authority following criticism of comic books' influence on children, which led to more sanitized and often less compelling storylines. Tragically, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster had sold away their rights to Superman and struggled financially despite their creation's massive success, leading to a long legal battle that would continue for decades. The Silver Age of comics, beginning in the late 1950s, saw Superman's mythology expand dramatically under the guidance of editor Mort Weisinger and writers like Otto Binder and Jerry Siegel, who returned to write Superman stories. This era introduced countless elements that remain part of Superman lore today, including Supergirl, Superman's cousin from Krypton, the Fortress of Solitude, his Arctic retreat filled with alien technology and artifacts from his homeworld, and the Bottle City of Kandor, a miniaturized Kryptonian city that survived the planet's destruction. The stories became increasingly science fiction oriented, featuring time travel, alternate dimensions, and elaborate plots that showcased Superman's growing array of powers. The 1970s marked a significant shift in Superman's portrayal as DC Comics sought to modernize the character for contemporary audiences. Writer Dennis O'Neil and artist Kurt Swan worked to make Superman more relatable by reducing his power levels and focusing on more human stories. This period saw the introduction of Morgan Edge as the new owner of the Daily Planet and WGBS television network, creating new challenges for both Superman and Clark Kent. The decade also witnessed the beginning of Superman's transition to the big screen with the development of what would become the Christopher Reeve film series. Superman the movie, released in 1978 and starring Christopher Reeve, revolutionized superhero cinema and popular culture. Directed by Richard Donner, the film successfully brought Superman to life with groundbreaking special effects that made audiences believe a man can fly. Reeves' portrayal perfectly captured both the nobility of Superman and the bumbling charm of Clark Kent, while the film's tagline, "You'll believe a man can fly," became synonymous with the character. The movie's success led to 3 sequels and established Superman as a cinematic icon, while proving that superhero films could be both commercially successful and critically acclaimed. The 1980s brought both celebration and controversy to Superman's world. The character celebrated his 50th anniversary with much fanfare, but also faced criticism for becoming stale and overpowered. Writer John Byrne was brought in to revitalize the character with the 1986 miniseries Man of Steel, which rebooted Superman's origin story and modernized his mythology for a new generation. Byrne's version eliminated many of the Silver Age's more fantastical elements while emphasizing Superman's humanity and his role as Earth's protector, rather than just another survivor of Krypton. This reboot also redefined the relationship between Superman and Clark Kent, making the human identity more authentic and important. One of the most shocking moments in Superman's history occurred in 1992 with the death of Superman's storyline. Writer Dan Jurgens and artist John Bogdanove created the ultimate threat to Superman in Doomsday, a mindless creature of pure destruction who could match Superman's strength. The battle between Superman and Doomsday devastated Metropolis and ended with both characters apparently dying in each other's arms. The death of Superman became a cultural phenomenon, with the comic book selling millions of copies and making headlines around the world. The story explored themes of heroism, sacrifice, and legacy, while showing how Superman's absence affected both his loved ones and the world at large. Superman's return from death came through the Reign of the Supermen storyline, which introduced 4 potential replacements for the fallen hero: the cyborg Superman, the Eradicator Superboy, and Steel. Each represented different aspects of Superman's legacy, while the real Superman recovered in a Kryptonian regeneration chamber. This story arc examined what made Superman special and why no one else could truly replace him. The return of Superman was celebrated worldwide, but also raised questions about the permanence of death in comic books and the nature of heroism itself. The 1990s saw Superman adapting to a changing comic book landscape, with darker, more complex storytelling becoming the norm. The character faced new challenges, including his marriage to Lois Lane, which had been building for decades and finally occurred in 1996, coinciding with the television series Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. This period also saw the introduction of new villains like Brainiac's upgraded forms and the return of classic foes like Lex Luthor, who was reimagined as a corrupt businessman rather than a mad scientist. The decade concluded with Superman facing the threat of Brainiac 13 and the transformation of Metropolis into a city of tomorrow. The new millennium brought fresh perspectives to Superman's story, with writers like Mark Waid, Jeff Johns, and Grant Morrison offering innovative takes on the character. Morrison's All-Star Superman presented a love letter to the character's entire history while examining themes of mortality and legacy through a story where Superman faces his own inevitable death. Meanwhile, the television series Smallville, which ran from 2001 to 2011, explored Superman's teenage years and his journey to becoming the hero the world needed. The show's 10-season run made it the longest-running superhero series in television history and introduced Superman to a new generation of fans. Superman's cinematic return came with 2006's Superman Returns, directed by Bryan Singer and starring Brandon Routh as the Man of Steel. The film served as a spiritual sequel to the Christopher Reeve movies, but received mixed reactions from fans and critics. The story dealt with Superman's return to Earth after searching for survivors of Krypton, only to find that the world had moved on without him. While the film featured impressive visual effects and emotional moments, it was criticized for its pacing and lack of action, leading to plans for a sequel being canceled. The character received a complete reboot with 2013's Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder and starring Henry Cavill as Superman. This film presented a darker, more realistic take on the Superman origin story, emphasizing the character's alien nature and the challenges of being different in a world that fears what it doesn't understand. The movie explored themes of identity, belonging, and the responsibility that comes with great power, while featuring spectacular action sequences that showcased Superman's incredible abilities. The film's success launched the DC Extended Universe and led to sequels, including Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League. Throughout his long history, Superman has faced numerous reimaginings and reinterpretations, each reflecting the values and concerns of their respective eras. The character has been used to explore issues of immigration, identity, belonging, and the nature of heroism, while serving as a symbol of hope and inspiration for millions of people worldwide. From the Great Depression to the modern era, Superman has evolved while maintaining his core values of truth, justice, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The enduring appeal of Superman lies not just in his incredible powers, but in his fundamental humanity, and his choice to use his abilities to help others rather than dominate them. Despite being an alien from another world, Superman represents the best of humanity and serves as an inspiration for people to be better than they are. His story reminds us that true strength comes not from power, but from compassion, and that even the smallest act of kindness can make a difference in someone's life. Superman's influence extends far beyond comic books, affecting literature, film, television, and popular culture in ways that continue to resonate today. The character has inspired countless other superheroes and has become a template for heroism that transcends cultural boundaries. From his creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster to the countless writers, artists, and performers who have brought him to life, Superman represents the power of imagination and the enduring appeal of stories that inspire us to be our best selves. As Superman continues to evolve, for new generations of fans, his core message remains unchanged, that with great power comes great responsibility, and that anyone can be a hero if they choose to stand up for what is right. The Man of Steel's legacy is not just measured in comic book sales or box office receipts, but in the countless lives he has touched and the hope he has inspired in people around the world. Superman's story is ultimately our story, a reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, there is always hope for a better tomorrow, and that sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stand up and make a difference. Thanks for watching. If you find this information useful, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos about pop culture history and the stories behind your favorite characters.